Here's what a lot of white guys do every day, every morning when they get up. They say to themselves, I just wish I knew what the rules were. Then I could, it might take me a while to get used to them, but then I would just try to live within the rules. But people are always changing the rules, and white guys are going around, man, what rule changed today? How long is it going to take me to learn what the new rules are? Am I going to get fired before somebody tells me what the new rules are? We're going to talk about rules and people who are breaking them, people who are making new rules, leaving white guys scratching their heads. Hi, this is Colin Flaherty. I'm the author of Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. Available on Smash Mouth, not Amazon. Here we talk about black violence, black on white hostility. All wildly out of proportion. And the reporters and the public officials and lots of other people like movie star actresses we're going to meet in a minute who are in denial, deceit, and delusion about this black violence, black dysfunction so wildly out of proportion. We talk about this all without racism, without rancor, without apology. Big movie opening this week. It's a big event movie, a tentpole movie, they say in the business, called Captain Marvel, starring a young lady, I think her name is Brie Larson. Not somebody I'm really that familiar with, but I guess everybody that's not an old white dude like me knows who she is. Brie's got something to say. She wants us to listen. I'm all ears, Brie. You don't have to be a white nationalist. You don't have to be a white supremacist. You don't have to be one of those guys wearing Viking helmets on your heads with horns sticking out of them, talking about European culture that's 27 million years old and is responsible for every single good thing ever invented on this planet. No, you don't have to be one of those guys. And a lot of people here are not one of those guys. You don't have to be one of those guys to just keep your eyes open and realize if you pay attention, if you believe what you see on TV, newspapers, radio every single day, that if you're a white person, you suck really, really, really bad. You're always doing bad stuff to people. Why don't we pick up with Hillary just like a day or so ago? She's down in Selma, Alabama, reminding people how much white people suck because white people stopped 40, 80,000, probably more, probably 80 million black people in Wisconsin from doing what she knows they would have done anyway. They would have voted for her. Let's pick up Hillary.
Just never forget, there is an other side in America, and they never give up. They never quit. They're never discouraged. They are motivated every single day to try to pull back rights, to try to suppress rights, to try to prevent people from fulfilling their own God-given potential. And so they did go to work.
Understand that Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead.
And when they went to work, they found a receptive Supreme Court who came up with the most absurd decision. There are a lot of absurd decisions, but this is, in many ways, the most absurd. The Congress is supposed to legislate based on evidence and facts, which we did, and then it gets up to the Supreme Court, and they say, you don't need that anymore. We don't need that voting rights stuff. You don't have to hold states and municipalities accountable. We're beyond all that now. What nonsense. Absolute absurd nonsense. And what was the result? They gutted the Voting Rights Act. I was the first person who ran for president without the protection of the Voting Rights Act. And I will tell you, it makes a really big difference. And it doesn't just make a difference in Alabama and Georgia. It made a difference in Wisconsin, where the best studies that have been done said somewhere between 40 and 80,000 people were turned away from the polls because of the color of their skin, because of their age, because of whatever excuse could be made up to stop a fellow American citizen from voting.
And so all we ask in these stories, right, is for some reporter to say, okay, Hillary, we got 40 to 80,000 black people wandering the wilderness of Wisconsin, looking for a place to vote, being turned away. And there's about 8 million reporters in Wisconsin on election day, and not one person showed up on television during your little fairy tale speech. You didn't bring one person in, let alone 80,000 to say, yeah, I walked into that voting booth in Milwaukee. Yeah, and I know in Milwaukee there's a lot of black people, and the people manning the polls are black, and all the poll watchers are black, and the judges are black, and the cops are black. But I walked in there, and there was some white Republican going, no, you're black. You can't vote in this election. Sorry. That's the way it rolls. Well, we'll take your word for it. Why not? White people suck. Everybody knows that. You don't have to prove that anymore. 2 + 2 = 4. White people suck. QED. But of course, it's not just politics now. I mean, white people suck along a whole range of opportunities. I guess there's a movie coming out this week called Captain Marvel. And the chick, and it's a Marvel movie, and so everybody's trying to pretend this is like the first movie in the history of the world that ever actually had a woman in it. I mean, that's what you do in these marketing things, right? You go tell people, hey, we've never had a woman in a movie before. That's what makes this one special. Anyway, the person who's going to be the star of this movie, Brie Larson, she was giving a speech, I think last year, and the speech is now getting some attention since she apparently is going to be a big star this weekend if her movie doesn't blow up. She was talking about white movie critics and how badly they served the public when they talked about this masterpiece, this cinematic once-in-a-lifetime event called A Wrinkle in Time. Let's hear what Brie Larson had to say about that.
Talk about something that's really important to me. I'd like to bring to light an aspect of our industry that has risen to the surface in the last week. It's an issue that's been bubbling since really the whole time, but this issue has a solution that each one of us in this room can participate in. So earlier this week, USC Annenberg's Inclusive Initiative released findings that 67% of the top critics reviewing the 100 highest grossing movies in 2017 were white males. Less than a quarter were white women, and less than 10% were unrepresented men. Only 2.5% of those top critics were women of color. So you're probably thinking right now, wow, that super doesn't represent the country that I live in, and that's because that's true. This is a huge disconnect from the US population breakdown of 30% white men, 30% white women, 20% men of color, and 20% women of color. Is that if you make a movie that is a love letter to women of color, there is an insanely low chance a woman of color will have the chance to see your movie and review your movie. And this is also not to mention other people besides white dudes like Star Wars and would love the opportunity to do a set visit. And I'm also saying I don't hate white dudes. I'm just saying we need to be conscious of our bias and do our part to make sure that everyone is in the room. It really sucks that reviews matter, but reviews matter. I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him. I want to know what that film meant to women of color, to biracial women, to teen women of color, to teens that are biracial.
Okay, I guess I was feeling kind of perverse because after I heard this speech, after I heard how unfairly these old white movie critics did what they did to A Wrinkle in Time, I said, okay, hey, I don't mind a good fantasy movie every now and then. Like Dune or the Golden Compass movies with Nicole Kidman, a couple other ones. I've always liked science fiction. I'm going to give A Wrinkle in. I don't know why. I don't know how this one got by me. Maybe I just saw the headlines that said, listen, stay away from this movie no matter what. Maybe because I saw Oprah in it and I thought, well, if Oprah's in it, it's probably going to have something about relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything. But anyway, I actually went and watched that stupid movie, A Wrinkle in Time, last night. It was the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. The worst. And I'm not allowed to have that opinion or express that opinion because I can't see the world through the lens of a 12-year-old female of color. That was a huge movie. It cost like $125 million to make. That means in order to turn a profit, that movie, the box office returns had to be $400 million. That means it had to be huge. Oh yeah, and one of the reasons you don't hear much about A Wrinkle in Time blowing up, it was a total dud. Nobody liked it. Not even tiny little girls of color. Because it was directed by a black woman. Though this was the first movie directed by a black woman to exceed $100 million at the box office. Yes, but the thing needed to go over $400 million to make some money. This thing was a bomb. Nobody liked this movie, but nobody's allowed to say so, especially if you're a white dude, because everybody knows white dudes suck. So now they're trying to bully white dudes into pretending that movies are good because movies with people of color in them are automatically good no matter how bad they suck. Kind of been waiting for this day. I've been waiting for the day where, the white movie critics, they're the most liberal bunch of all. So they're the ones out there trumpeting all this racial consciousness. They're the ones trumpeting, well, this movie's made by a person of color, so it's got to be good. They're the ones talking about Wakanda. Oh, this is the first movie ever with a black person in it in the history of the world. Let's make sure we really, really tell people how great it is. They're the ones who created Wakanda, okay? But at some point, everybody's going to turn around and devour those people, right? Because all of a sudden, the people of color and the women are going to turn around if they're not 100% correct. And hoist them by their own petard. They're going to burn them with their own standards. And that's what happened in this another cinematic masterpiece called Ocean's 8. Nobody liked it. Nobody went to see it. Everybody thought the movie sucked. Why did critics say it sucked? Why did viewers say it sucked? Well, one reason only, because white men didn't understand the brilliance of all these women. And why do white men have to be the one who review these movies? Why? Why don't we read a little bit of that in case you think I'm making all this up? Female-led films are misunderstood by male critics, said Cate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock, who star in Ocean's 8. The film is a spin-off of the Naughty's Ocean 11 trilogy, where all 8 leads are played by women. Male critics have given the film lukewarm reviews so far, The Guardian's review noting the film's lifeless direction, and Variety saying the film series now, quote, doesn't summon the rush of delighted surprise it once did. Bullock, who plays the character Debbie Ocean, told a reporter that she would prefer to have people of similar demographics to the target audience review a film. It would be nice if the reviewers reflected who the film is for, like children should review children's films, not a 60-year-old man, she told a reporter. I guess his opinion would be kind of skewed. She added that she would like there to be, quote, a balancing out of pool of critics so that it reflects the world we are in. Like we are trying to reflect the world that I live in and my friends live in. It's not just all men. I love men. I want to be at a table with men, but I also want to be invited to the table that the men are at. Cate Blanchett said that a male reviewer could see the film through a prism of misunderstanding. Discussing whether Hollywood is getting better at telling stories about women, the studio can support a film, she said, and it's also invisible faces on the internet, often male reviewers, who can view it through a prism of misunderstanding. And so I think that it is really a big part of the equation. And they're talking about the other female-led reboots of film classics like Ghostbusters, which sucked, had the most disliked movie trailer ever on YouTube. And the woman, I forget her name, she's on Saturday Night Live. She's the black woman on Saturday Night Live. Yeah, she's been very vocal in the fact that, that was like the greatest movie ever. But, because white guys sabotaged it because of their own racist reasons. And now that they're going to make another movie, another Ghostbusters, she wasn't invited to be in it. And that, of course, was, again, that was just an eruption of racism and sexism all rolled into one that is ruining the world, especially movies. So let's give women a pass from movie criticism.
Please, sir, I want some more.
Man, that's 3 in one day. 3 examples of how white people really suck in a criminal way every day. Just going around ruining things for women and people of color every day. And so white guys, we're just sitting here shrugging our shoulders going, hey, I just want to go see a movie. I could take my girlfriend, my wife, not at the same time. That's an old joke. My girlfriend, my wife, my kids too. I just want to see something we can enjoy. And if it sucks, don't come blame me because you made a lousy movie, okay? Capiche? Okay, so my favorite part of those clips we just saw is everybody calling for a new paradigm where only people who are part of the demographic can review the movie. So when Black Panther comes out, that means only the fellas can review it. When Captain Marvel comes out, I guess that means only chicks can review it, and only people of color and young women should have been able to review that tsunami of a disaster movie, Wrinkle in Time. Okay, I hate to be obvious here. I hate to be almost boring about it. But does that mean there are movies that only white guys can review? So we're just going to resegregate the entire film business now? I'm not really down with that. I'm kind of naive enough to think these movies involve bigger things that transcend genres, that transcend whatever little marketing category you happen to find yourself in today of demographics and age and race and ethnicity and income and where you live. Yeah, people actually, naive people like me, would we actually think there are people in this country who can transcend these little self-made categories? But until then, it's just going to be like, hey, I mean, nobody but white guys can review white movies for white guys. Maybe like those action movies, like your typical Stallone, Schwarzenegger movie. I mean, how many of the movie critics? Well, how many of them are these white guys are leading an alternative sexual lifestyle, and they're casting judgment on movies that are meant for male heterosexuals? Oh, now that's what I call an injustice. Really, we're going to go there. You really want to go there? I don't think so. You know what? I think all the people we just heard in those clips and in those news stories, I don't even think they ever listen to themselves talk. They just talk. And they don't process what they're saying. There's no governor on what they're saying. The lady stands up and goes, yeah, let's just have chicks review chick movies. Okay, can we have just white guys introduce white guy movies? Oh my God, Colin, what are you, a member of the Klan? Yeah, that's how they think. It's not really even fair to call it thinking, is it? Hey, why don't we spend a little time with our old buddy, Jussie Smollett? Yes, that's how you pronounce his name, so I'm an authority on Mr. Smollett. There's a story in the paper today, headline, Robin Roberts get completely honest about interview with Jussie Smollett. So this story came out a couple weeks after the interview. So Robin Roberts, she's known as the black woman, the lesbian, the cancer survivor. She checks all the boxes over it. Pretty sure she's on ABC. No, I don't watch her damn morning show. Sorry. And we're going to find out why right now. So there she is during the interview. Jussie's doing the crocodile tears. She's coaxing these tears out of Jussie as if she's Barbara Walters and Jussie is some like major film star. Everybody's happy. She got the exclusive. Jussie wanted to talk to her and her only. Why is that? You know, one thing people don't realize about the entertainment PR business, totally different than the news PR business. With the news PR business, you're kind of begging people to get your person on the air. With the entertainment business, they are begging you. You set the ground rules. Jussie was able to go to Good Morning America and say, listen, I'll go on your show. I only want to talk to Robin Roberts, parentheses, because I know because she is going to be so conflicted on this, nobody's going to challenge my tissue-thin story. That's what happened. And now Robin Roberts is bearing her soul to us about what a crappy job she did 2 weeks ago. No, you don't get do-overs in a case like this. Robin Roberts is talking about, well, I was a little uncomfortable with it, to tell you the truth, but he said he was going to tell us something new. So that's why I did the interview. And then she talks about how, she was black, and so she felt pressure because she was black that she had to give this person an airing. She felt pressure because she was gay. She had to give this person some sympathy. One of our great viewers, True to Roof, he's really point on this when he talks about he can't believe there's a group called the National Association of Black Journalists, the National Association of Hispanic Journalists, the National Association of Environmental Journalists. If you talk to True to Roof, and maybe you will one day when he retires, but when you talk to True to Roof, he'll tell you that if you're a member of one of those clubs, they're telling you right off the bat that they have something more important in mind than just telling you what happened. And that's all I want. When I turn on the television, I just want to know what happened. That's why nobody's turning on the TV anymore. We can't really count on these people for information. Robin Roberts, 3 weeks after our interview, she comes out and goes, oh man, sorry about that. I didn't really want to do that interview. Same thing on CNN, except they compressed it. Allison Camerata, who I used to really like over at Fox News, one day she shows up in CNN and I went, whoa, how the hell did that happen? Because really, if you look at a person on Fox, like Shepard Smith, and you see their stories and you go, that really could fit just as well, even better on CNN than it is on Fox. My attitude is, what are you doing on Fox? Why don't you go to CNN and do their stories over there? A lot of these reporters, they kind of think they're members of this big club called Reporter Club, and they're all working for themselves, or they're all working for this mythical agency called Reporter Employment Bureau in the sky. Everybody works for the same person. It's just you make stops off at different places along the way. People that watch Fox don't really think that. People that watch MSNBC don't think that. They think their person is kind of like, yeah, you're into the mojo of the station. We know what your point of view is. We know what your emphasis is going to be. And if your story can be on MSNBC and Fox, then chances are you're not really covering it in a straight fashion. So anyway, there's Allison Camerata doing the same thing Robin Roberts did about a week or so ago. She and Brian Stetler, how do you pronounce his name? Stetler? Is that it? Stetler? I don't know. He's their senior media reporter. So she and Brian Stetler are sitting there talking about how the boss came down and said, hey, we better slow walk this because pump your brakes a little because, well, we just got burned on Covington. Covington was like a week or two before when they did all the phony baloney stories about white racism. None of it was true. Now we got another story coming out. It turned out to be a big phony baloney story about white racism where none of it was true and nobody ever had any reason to think it was true. CNN, after a couple of days later, they came out and said, boy, are we glad we ever pumped our brakes on that? You didn't pump anything, Camerata. You guys were in that story 100%, totally committed right off the bat. Just like ABC was with Robin Roberts. And you can't come back a couple of days later and try to pretend like you weren't into it. No. This is like a guy robbing a bank, right? There's 3 guys go in and the third guy goes, oh man, I'm glad you guys caught me because I didn't really want to be in there with those dudes. When they arrested him, he's like in a casino throwing $100 bills around, lighting cigars with $100 bills. Glad you guys caught me, man. You guys got here just in the nick of time. I was feeling really bad about that bank we robbed a couple days ago. No, you weren't feeling bad. You were happy. You were able to expose these white racists running around the country, beating up black people for no damn reason whatsoever. And I know everybody now is all down with the fact they're talking about hoaxes. Well, we've been talking about hoaxes here from day one. We talk about hoaxes as the most revealing thing that we can do here because the hoaxes really reveal what the reporters really think, and we judge them by how easily they're taken in by these on-the-face, incredible stories from people like Jussie Smollett, from people like their own cameraman at the Lincoln Memorial. We see the story. We watch the video. We watch the Indian dude try to walk up to the kids. The kids are smiling. All of a sudden, every blue check reporter in America is sitting there talking about these kids attacked the old Indian dude and they attacked the Bible reading black people, the black Israelites. I mean, this is how topsy-turvy everything is. And now Robin Roberts wants us to believe, well, Robin, we've been with you on your journey through cancer and we're happy that you're back and we're happy that you have a nice married life at home with another chick. Wow, we're happy, Robin. Now we're happy. Oh, we're sad. We're sad with you that you didn't figure out how to report the story. Listen, you had one job. Find out what the hell happened and tell us. And when you screw up, don't come back a couple weeks later and go, oh, I know it. No, you're like the person that really gets on my nerves. One of my buddies at the racetrack, no names. My buddy will know who this is. When I lived in San Diego in the summer, we'd go out to the racetrack, a couple times a season, bet $5 or $10 on every race. There's always one guy in the crowd. When the race is over, he looks at you and says, I knew that horse was going to win. I told you. You go, well, where's your ticket? Well, I bet on another horse. Why didn't you bet on the one you knew was going to win? Oh, come on, Colin, get out of here. I mean, that's what Robin Roberts and Allison Camerata are doing now. They're trying to go back and reinvent our history because they got caught screwing up in a major way, major story. Nobody seems to give a damn because that's the way we roll in this country. Black person stands up and says, oh my God, I'm victim of a hate crime. 2 weeks later, it's a big hoax. A month later, oh my God, it's a big hoax. We got it on 12 cameras like we did in Albany. Oh man, nobody cares. No, you know what the answer is? And this is going to be Smollett's answer. The next step is, okay, it was a hoax, but damn it, the facts were wrong, but the story is true. We still got to fight racism in this country. And I might not have been a victim of racism that day, but I've been a victim of racism every other day. And all the reporters, they just can't write this down fast enough. They're sitting there bobbing their head. Oh yeah. That's how we're rolling now. That's how sick the greatest lie of our generation has become. We allow people to tell lies about it. And when they do, we forgive them and forget right away. And all we do is say, hey, yeah, go out and cover another one of those. And if you screw that up, we won't care about that either. All right, let's switch gears here a little bit. We were talking just a little while ago about that Oprah movie. Is it fair to call that an Oprah movie? A Wrinkle in Time? Yeah, why not? Anyway, it's an Oprah movie. And I guess that was a very popular book. I read a review of the book and it said, boy, everybody who was in seventh grade in second grade in 1962 remembers this book. And well, I guess it wasn't in my hood because I was doing a lot of reading at the time. I asked my friends, nobody's ever heard of that book before, A Wrinkle in Time. Kind of it's a sci-fi, it was a fantasy that kids were supposed to really like. Well, I do like the genre. I am reading a book now that kind of comes into our world a bit, our world of black violence, wildly out of proportion, and people in denial, deceit, and delusion about it. It's by a guy named Kent Brakey. They call him K.M. Brakey. We've talked about his books before on this in my different platforms, whether here or YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. So Kent's writing a book. I'm not going to give it away because I just finished it and I really enjoyed it. Kent's writing a book about a couple of guys, and this is in the future, 10 years in the future, and they think, and at least one of them believes that they've built their life where reality cannot intrude into his world. Well, this book's about what happens when that happens and how he deals with this dystopia up there. So I got a kick out of it. So if you're on Amazon and you see it, you might want to take a look at K.M. Brakey and his new book, All Thy Sons. So speaking of Amazon, good old Colin, as you may know, got kicked off of Amazon. My one other books are up there. This one's not. My big book, Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. That's the book I want to give the most love to. Anyway, that book is actually, the electronic version of that book is up and has been up at a place called Smashwords. So if you're really hot to trot on reading that book, which you should be because it gives you a bigger picture than anybody else has right now. It's a picture not just of violence and denial, lots of stories in there about hoaxes. Love hoaxes. You can pick that up at smashwords.com, the ebook, and I'm actually doing what it takes to get that put back up, not just on Amazon, though I'm not optimistic. But I am going to put it back up to a place where you can get a paper copy of it. We did a big podcast the other day about our buddy Tim Wise, and Tim was going around saying bad things about good old Colin. Good old Colin just kept, every time he said something, I just kept saying, okay, Tim, explain this, explain that, explain this. Oh yeah, you said I was a bad person. You said I was a fraud. Give me one example and we'll bet on it, Tim. Come on. Crickets from Tim, except for one thing. Tim tweeted out something the other day going, hey man, I never called Colin a white nationalist. He's not a white nationalist. He just doesn't understand the data. Man. Okay, Tim, you are a fraud for thinking you know the numbers when you don't know the numbers. See, anybody who takes the numbers as they're given they're just a total neophyte in this. I mean, if I went to the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame, and I said, hey, people, here I am. My batting average is .425, and I had 800 home runs, and, I never struck out once. And they would look at me and go, well, where did those numbers came from? Hey, you can trust me. Those are my numbers. They're good. Believe me, they're good. They're fine. They're perfect. Just take them. Now, when do I come in and pose for my sculpture, for my bust sculpture that you're going to memorialize me with? Well, Colin, we really need somebody else to give us the numbers on your career, non-existent career in baseball. Why? Why can't you trust me? Because Colin, you're the one benefiting from the numbers, and you didn't even play baseball in grade school, let alone college or professional leagues. And that's what we do when we see the crime numbers. Who's keeping the crime numbers? The same people keep the crime numbers are the ones who benefit from them being artificially low. In New Orleans, it got to be such a obvious setup job that the state actually had to come into New Orleans and say, oh, no, your numbers are so bad. You guys are just in total denial, deceit, and delusion about the level of crime in New Orleans. We're going to take that over. New York front page, big story out of New York today is that, boy, how did this happen? Crime is down in New York, but murders are up. Well, anybody who read that crazy book, Don't Make the Black Kids Angry, anybody who doesn't listen, see, if you listen to Tim Wise, you'll know less about it than when you started listening. Front page story, New York Times. Why the numbers are going down. This is the New York Times. Why the numbers are going down. You can't get a cop to take a police report. The cops are in charge of the numbers. So you can turn an assault into a felony, into a case of offensive touching, like I told you about happened 2 blocks from where I'm making this podcast right now. You can do that all day long. And you can turn somebody firing a gun at a house into an act of vandalism. All of a sudden, the numbers are down. But if you got a dead body, that's a little harder to explain, even though they do that too. It's amazing how many of these dead bodies are written off as suicides when they're not, when they're homicides. But you got a place like Detroit where the homicide clearance rate, what's the homicide clearance rate in Detroit? Like in the 20%? I mean, that's pretty crazy. So the cops, I like cops on the beat. The cops around the department, they're not like cops on the beat. They're basically political figures that are following orders. Orders, get the crime rate down. Oh, I can get the numbers down. I don't know about the crime though. We don't care about the crime. Just give me some damn numbers and get the hell out of here. That's how those conversations go. And if somebody has to explain it to you, we'll get somebody else in there to do your job, chief. And you can go on to the next town where you can explain to them how you learned your lesson about fixing the numbers. Who gives a damn about the real crime? And that's what's going on in New York right now. So if you listen to Tim Wise, he's all about the numbers. Oh, Colin, yeah, I ran the numbers through 37 different formulas. Yeah, and they all came out this way that shows there is no difference between black crime and white crime. As a matter of fact, what it shows, Colin, is that white cops are always picking on black people for no reason whatsoever, Colin. My numbers show that. God, he's taken the biggest lie of our generation, the hoax of black victimization, and injected it with steroids. Witness intimidation, stitches for snitches, Bronx juries, stopping the cradle to prison pipeline. The cops used to have arrest quotas because cops didn't want to, they didn't want to arrest people. Now you have a different kind of, so the arrest quotas made sure you arrested a certain number of people every month. So at least you're keeping your eyes open for crime. Now they have a different kind of quota. The cops people that run these cities, they don't want you to bring black people in. They just don't. They tell you. Cities are bragging about how few black people they're arresting. Chicago brags, Baltimore brags, Philadelphia brags. And all the cities around me, the hundreds of cities around those places, brag. We believe in criminal justice reform. We're going to do this story tomorrow, but there's a story running around D.C. right now. I just saw this like 10 minutes ago. There's a story running around D.C. right now. A guy raped and killed a 14-year-old girl in Washington, D.C. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Guess how much time he served? Guess how much time he's going to be behind bars before he gets out today, which is I'm making this late Tuesday, so you're listening to it on Wednesday. He's getting out today. He served less than 9 years. Less than 9 years. Now everybody down in Prince George's County are going, hey, well, how'd that happen, man? How'd that happen? These are the same people who are cheering for criminal justice reform. Let's give people a second chance. But that's another part of the greatest lie of our generation. By the time you're going through the criminal justice system, we're not talking about second chances. We're talking about 10th chances, 20th chances. And now we put this guy back on the street. And we're just supposed to shrug our shoulders and go, hey, don't worry, Colin. He's on probation for 5 years. Why are you so worried about this, Colin? Welcome to criminal justice reform. Anyway, so let's take a second to talk about this stuff. I always feel like I'm breaking my own train of thought when I do this. Let's talk about the stuff you can do if you want to be a part of exposing this enormous lie. This is a lie that went unchallenged at CPAC. Whole room full of conservatives. Van Jones is sitting there telling everybody that white people are picking on black people and putting them in prison. Let's give them a second chance. Van Jones and Jared Kushner are holding hands, making plans, and they're holding their hands up, and nobody says a damn thing about it, even though it's transparently not true. And many people in that room knew it wasn't true. And so that's what we expose here. And if you want to be a part of it, I'm going to give you a couple things you can do. 1, share, like, subscribe. Comment on these videos and podcasts wherever you find them. Yes, they're shadow banning us. Yes, they're kicking us off platforms. But yes, we still have to do what we can to feed that great algorithm in the sky with information that this stuff's important and people want to see it. So do that. Go over and sign up for my Twitter. There's a lot of stuff going on Twitter these days. Always has been, but on this topic there is. Then somebody just sent me a great picture this morning. I'll post it over at minds.com. They sent me a Photoshop picture of Donald Trump using one of my coffee cups, my favorite one, which is truth is the new hate speech. Looks really cool. Got a couple of other cool ones over there. Denial, deceit, delusion, racism, any conservative winning an argument with a liberal. So go over there. You can get t-shirts, coffee cups with all these cool sayings on it, which will identify you as a friend of Colin. And thanks for sending me these stories. Somebody sent me the story from Washington, D.C. I got cops sending me stories, teachers sending me stories from all over the country. Really grateful for all these stories. Keep sending them, you guys. I get a lot of email. I might not be able to respond to everybody or use every story, but I don't know. We don't know how we're going to use these stories. You might send me something today and I might get 3 more of these stories, the same thing tomorrow. And then it's all of a sudden, oh yeah, let's put them all together. Like right now, I'm going to post something tomorrow on my video channel, minds.com/Colin Flaherty. We'll post something about shootings at clubs, mass shootings. A lot of this stuff's on video, and it's all recent. Just a ton of it. And nobody's connecting the dots going, Colin, I don't remember white people doing that. And it seems like there's a lot of people getting shot in these clubs. 3 at a time, 7 at a time. 6 at a time. What's up with that, Colin? I don't know. Ask Tim Wise. Don't ask me. He's the one who knows. He knows the numbers. In the meantime, call your police department and go, hey, how many mass shootings have been involved in black bars? Can you tell me that? They go, oh, shut up. You're a bad person. Get out of here. They don't keep those numbers. So those are just some ways you can be a part of what we're doing here. Get over to colinflaherty.com. Sign up for my email. That's a must. You got to do that. There's a little place you put your name and your email. I mean, every day there's another smoke signal that there's something coming down the pike where people are trying to stop us and shut us down. Every day. God, I saw this. I think she worked for the DC Examiner. I forget. Maybe it's the Daily Beast. I like the Beast, don't like the Examiner. But somebody wrote a book about, I don't know, something about women. And, 1 million people didn't rush out to buy her book. Next thing you know, she's posting on one of her social media pages. She's, I think, Twitter going, oh my God, Amazon shadow banning my book. No, people just didn't want to buy the damn thing. They yanked my book off when people were buying the hell out of it. Even after being out for, more than a year. People were buying the hell out of that book. Amazon yanked it. So don't go muddying up the waters and pretending there's 1 million people waiting to buy your book on Amazon and they just can't find it. Good Lord. I mean, that's always a possibility. If people aren't buying your book or not responding to your tweets, it's because they don't like your stuff. Not that Amazon is quashing you, or not that Twitter or Facebook or YouTube is quashing you. And you get kicked off those places because of what you did, because you won't back off, because you won't pull punches. Let me know. Okay? That's how we roll around here. We don't back off no matter how many. A lot of people who are a lot smarter than I have said, Colin, you just got to drop the Chocolate City stuff. Quit calling them fellas. Apologize once in a while for noticing. No, we're not going to do that. That's how we got here, by everybody being so timid. We aren't timid. We're not aggressive and bold, necessarily, but we strive to be plain spoken about it. And we don't dance around. We don't travel around 24,000 miles around the globe so we can get to our point. We say, listen, we're documenting this black violence and dysfunction wildly out of proportion, and we document how people on TV hardly ever get it right. And if they did get it right, they wouldn't be on TV. They'd be off, just like I'm off of Amazon, my book. Just like I'm off of YouTube. But we're going to keep making these podcasts and videos, and we're going to keep posting them. There are places that we cannot be shut down. That's why I'm counting on you to go get on my email list so you can follow us as we, like those 40,000 black people in Wisconsin, as we walk through the wilderness looking for a place to call home. Except in our case, what we're doing is real. What Hillary was doing was not real. And if you're really feeling like the spirit moves you, send a couple of ducats our way. Go into PayPal, drop a few, go into you can find it at colinflaherty.com. You can send a one-time amount. You can set up a monthly thing. Whatever you are moved to do. And another reason for getting on my email list is because I think, one of the clouds I see coming down the horizon is PayPal. They've hooked up, they're spending a lot of time with the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm on their radar screen. I've been there for a long time. It's funny, the first time Southern Poverty Law Center wrote about me, all these things now are happening. It's like, I can't even say them because I don't expect people to believe them. But they said, Colin Flaherty's on that radio show with a white Nazi or whatever they call people like that. And here's what they kind of reported, but they kind of like reported it so quickly it went away. And Colin's a bad person. Here's what he said. And what Colin and so when I find myself in a radio situation where callers call in and they say stuff like that, I say this in public too. I said it at a book signing a few years ago, and everybody kind of freaked on me. They start talking about, white power and this and that. I'm saying, I think anybody who believes that is insane. I think you're mentally retarded if you believe that. I mean, I don't really think, I don't really spend a lot of time controlling my audiences or controlling who gets into my little bubble. If somebody wants in, they can get in, but if they're in and they start bringing that on me, I tell them they're insane. That's what I told the people on the show. Southern Poverty Law Center blew right by it. But so as far as I'm concerned, we've been at war ever since. And they've got a lot more warriors than I do. But we have better warriors. We have more determined warriors. We happen to have truth on our side. But I don't know. I don't know how long this PayPal thing is going to work, but it's something we need to keep going between us, whether it's PayPal or direct depositors or something to my home address, which is on minds.com/Colin Flaherty. That's really important for all of us to stay together. So if you think this effort is important, if you think this effort is changing the world, then we have to stay close. Capiche? So those are things that you can do to stay with us. Okay, what's this? Let's go. I wanted to get to this story. This is, I'm always kind of looking for things that we've done before, a way to hook them up to things that are happening now. So there's a football player in Baltimore. 99% sure his name is Alex Cross. I have the clip in front of me. Don't make me stop this podcast to go look for it. Anyway, Baltimore Raven, Alex Cross. He's one of the guys. He was a good player. Good player. Had one really good year. Next year, it's like, hey, what happened to that guy we had here last year? He doesn't seem to be around anymore. So anyway, Mr. Cross, a couple days ago, Mr. Cross is 26 years old. He's out partying with the fellas till 4 a.m. He's in a room. He's at a play party. Everybody's smoking pot. No big deal. Everybody smokes pot, So anyway, Cross gets into a car crash by hitting, driving in the snow in his Corvette. Bing, bam, boom. He's in a car crash. One car crash. He has one of his buddies in the car with him. Calls the cops. Hey, man, I'm going to crash. Can you come send a tow car? Sure, man. We'll be right there. So they're waiting for him. The guy who's in the car with, he takes off. Alex Cross, the football player, Baltimore Raven, he stays there. He falls asleep. Cops roll up on him and go, hey, what's up, my man? What's up, Mr. Football Player? You doing okay? Yeah, I'm doing fine, man. Thanks. Just want to get my car back to the shop so I can get it fixed up and go home, get some sleep. Oh, what's in your front seat there, Mr. Football Player? He looks over. I don't know. What is that? It's 5 ounces of pot. Got anything else in there? No, that's not even mine. Who owns this gun? I don't know. That's not my gun either. So there's this big Baltimore Raven getting arrested for sale, possession, intent to sell. I think he got popped for the gun as well. But the fella who was with him, he comes back to the scene, and all of a sudden they're doing one of these, hey, it wasn't mine. No, it wasn't mine. And they're going back and forth about whose stuff it was, each guy denying it was the other stuff. This guy who was in the car with the football player and the football player, they broke the most important rule you can get for succeeding in the NFL, and that is when you are off the field partying with your fellas and you break the law, parentheses, well, we know you're going to break the law. Not really, but we know the cops are going to pick on you because you are a black person, and that's your fate in life, to be picked on by cops for no reason whatsoever. When that happens to you, you need a fall guy. So let's listen to 2 NFL Hall of Famers. I loved this when we first did this a couple years ago. So I'm glad I had a chance to bring it out again. It's Warren Sapp and the other guy, I forget his name. He's popular on them. You'll recognize his voice. They are giving this seminar to NFL rookies, reminding them how to survive in the NFL. Rule 1. I know you're not going to break the law. I know you're not going to be able to resist all these temptation of women, drugs, money, whatever, guns. Just get somebody with you who's going to take the fall for you.
And just in case y'all not going to decide to do the right thing, if y'all got a crew, you got to have a fall guy in the crew. If they going to keep rolling on Teddy's bankroll, because each one of y'all in business for yourself. This right here is Teddy Bridgewater Inc.
Incorporated.
That's him. Now, every dime that come into Teddy, all right, is going to be earned by him and this body. All right? Now, I let my homeboys know. Y'all want to keep rolling like this? Then I need to know who's going to be the fall guy, who's going to be driving, because y'all not going to all do the right stuff now. All right? So I got to teach y'all how to get around all this stuff, too. If you're going to have a crew, one of them fools got to know he going to jail. We'll get him out.
We'll get him out.
If you're going to have a crew, make sure you know who's going to be the fall guy. Okay?
Please, sir. I want some more.
I know none of y'all going to never drink, leg. I know none of y'all going to never use no drugs and everything. All y'all going to go to Bible study. I realize that, but still get you a fall guy. Okay? If you're going to have a crew, make sure they understand can't nothing happen to you. Your name can't be in lights under no circumstances.
Hey, that's pretty straightforward, right? Get in trouble, get somebody to take the fall. Thank God for video, thank God for audio, because if I had just told you that, I said, listen, the NFL puts on a seminar where they get these two NFL Hall of Famers, really famous guys, really highly respected guys, and they're going to give you a clinic as to how avoid being caught for drinking while driving, using drugs, beating up your woman. They're going to give you a clinic how to get around all that, how not to get caught. Would you believe me? I said, listen, I heard about it. I swear to God, I heard about it from 2 people. Would you believe me? Heard about it from 3 people. Would you believe me? Well, most of the time the answer should be no. It should be like, okay, show me. Show me. And that's my big complaint with Tim Wise and Hillary and all these other people. Show me. Show me what you're talking about. Show me what we are talking about is wrong. So that's why I'm grateful for this video that the NFL made. I don't know, did anybody even watch this video before they posted it? Before I grabbed it? I'm pretty sure it's not up anymore. I don't think so. Or is everybody just so used to the fact now that the fellas in the NFL are just committing crimes willy-nilly, and as long as you don't kill any... No, I take that back. Ray Lewis killed somebody. Yeah, you can sue me, Ray. I just said you killed somebody. And Ray Lewis was involved in a murder. He got off. So I guess, I don't know. I don't even know what the rules are anymore. Other than when you're in the NFL, or if you're covering the NFL or watching the NFL and you see your favorite player do something really crazy, just ignore it. Pretend his fella did it. Otherwise, you're going to make the black kids angry. Talk to you next time.